How could you become a vibrational match to that experience? In other words, if thoughts turn to things, and if thoughts are represented by feelings, and if your inner being is already thinking the thought that is already turned to that thing, and when you think the thought that is turning to that thing, you feel wonderful, what kinds of thoughts or statements might you say in order to practice a vibration that will then turn to that thing? Because that's the process. You are on a journey. You are on a journey from vibration turning to thought and thoughts turning to things. That is your journey. But it has to be a happy journey along the way. And so if you're focused upon the absence, those thoughts are turning to things. The same thing over and over and over again. The absence of the that you're seeking. So what do you think that you might do or say or think or imagine or focus upon or write about that would cause you to practice the feeling place of this kind of prosperity that you're thinking about? What would that feel like? Because the process is simple, and because you know how to do it, just do it. Express to us what the mood of that having already turned to a thing, what's that mood? So it must feel like the next logical step. It must feel natural to you. So what kind of prosperity are you already living that you could use to amplify that mood that sets that steady tone that allows you to get in the receptive mode, so that you're picking up the right clues along the way for this? What we're really getting at is, what do you think it would feel like along the way to that successfully happening? See, because most people don't try to think about what they want to be feeling before it happens. They want to wait till it happens, and then they want to respond to the happening. That's that conditional response that we're talking about. We want you to conjure it before the condition. Other things that are already manifested in your life that give you those same feelings. What kinds of things? Talk to us about your blessings. Talk to us about how many thoughts have turned to wonderful things. That's the way you get that vibration going for more and more and more and more and more. You don't stand in the absence of it, you stand in the presence of it. You don't stand in the missing of it, you stand in the acknowledging of it. So talk to us about your current prosperity. Words that say, I feel prosperous, may be believed by those who hear it, but you can do a better job of amplifying your sense of prosperity. And that's really all we're talking about here. And we're also talking about, we like the word journey. We want you to feel as happy on your way as you will be when you get there. That's what the unconditional success is about. Because the success of that already exists in a vibrational form. If you can tap into that vibrational form success, instead of calling it not here yet, call it here yet, and it feels like this, and it feels like this, and it feels like this, then the next logical step is for ideas to come along the way. And you know what happens every time is that the impulses, the receptive mode ideas and desires that flash into your mind along the way turn out to be the prize. It's the process, it's the discovery, it's the co-creation, it's the intertwining, it's the feelings of satisfaction. So often you think that the prize or the goal or what you're trying to create is the money so that you can then do all of those things. No, it's the object of attention that lets you know when you're in sync with it. And the treasures along the way to that treasure. So you want that money, not for the money, but for the journey. This vibrational thought, it's not the money either. So here's the money that you want, but you want it for the journey. And here's the journey. It's the journey before the money, and it's the journey after the money. It was never about the money. It was always about the journey. That money is about the experiences that you will have along the way. All of the things that you will see and experience. The unconditioned, because you don't have to have the $100,000 for the journey to be already underway. And that's why we tell you the story. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your inner being is focused on it too. It's becoming more and more and more and more. The journey is underway. The good feeling journey is underway. Your inner being is joyful in the journey that you've set into motion. And then all of a sudden you get an idea. The journey is really underway. You got an idea. You were in the receptive mode and you got an idea. That's part of the journey. That's part of the journey. It's only part of the journey. It's not the destination. It's part of the journey. But before the $100,000 is in your bank, there's a vibrational version of it that you're thrilling over first. And here, this helps us describe something to you that is good for you to know. So many of you have been holding yourselves hostage, not allowing yourself to be happy until the money's in the bank. But the money can't get in the bank under those conditions. It's got to be a happy journey before the money gets in the bank. That's why you hear from so many who are following their dream, who are following their bliss, who are doing what they want to do, who are following their music desires or are following their philosophical desires. The journey doesn't start when you get the money. And the money isn't the end of the journey either. What's the real reason that you would tell a story or even believe a story? Because we know that you wouldn't tell it if you didn't believe it. So what's the reason that you would believe a story that doesn't match the real story of who you really are? Because there's a defensiveness. There's an innate understanding. You were born knowing that you're supposed to get what you want, and you were born knowing the power of your ability to create, and you were born knowing the worthiness of your being, and you were born knowing how this all works. And so there's this very deep, very core understanding that things are supposed to be working out for you, that you're supposed to be able to just point and receive. Your worthiness level is that supreme. But when you haven't known how to get into the receptive mode, and you haven't known very many other people that have either, so you're witnessing outcomes that are different than the outcome that you innately know that you deserve, then you begin in a backwards fashion telling the story that justifies where you stand. Almost everybody's doing it. It's like reverse creating. Instead of telling the story that will lead to this, you stand here and you try to tell the story that got you there. That was the biggest thing that we've ever said to you. That's the reason. That's the reason that you tell the crappy story in order to justify not being where you know you deserve to be. So let's step back into a more general place and let's not define it in specifics. Because if we try to define it in specifics, then we're trying to conjure something that we have no vibrational basis for. So let's talk unconditioned. And unconditioned, from our definition, is emotion. Because if these vibrations turn to a condition, then what we want to talk about is the unconditioned. So I want to define the relationship in the unconditional terms. So it feels lovely. It feels happy and satisfying. It feels clever and real. It feels real. It feels whole. It feels like well-being. It feels like home. It feels like brilliance. It feels like eagerness and energy. It feels like excitement. It feels like love and appreciation. It feels like adoration. It feels like perfection. It feels like knowing. It feels like aliveness. It feels like eagerness. It feels like life. It feels like home. It feels natural. It feels like who I am. It feels like defenses are down and expectations are up. It feels like all things are possible. It feels like well-being. It feels like appreciation. It feels like mutual appreciation. It feels like adoration coming and going. It feels like ease. It feels like flow. It feels like ease. It feels like ease. It feels like ease. It feels like complete absence of struggle. It feels like ease. It feels like fun. It feels like clarity. It feels like passion. Just like that. That's what it feels like. And those feelings will lead to experiences and lovemaking and ideas that are flowing and conversations. As those feelings are fostered by you, then this magnificent creation with all of the details of all the physical components, everything that you want, all of that will come into your awareness. And then Source will say, not literally, but we want you to get the sense of it. What you want is this way. It's this way. And if you can resist the temptation to say where, who, when, and instead you can just say this way, this way, this way. How do I know it's this way? Because this way feels exciting right now. Because this way feels fun right now. Because this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And all of a sudden, I think I'm seeing something that looks and sounds and smells and tastes and touches like this felt, you see. And then you don't say, I wonder. You say, I know. And the other one knows too. Because for it to be someone that meets you on that level, it has to be someone who meets you on that level, yes? There's a sort of surrendering or giving into the accepting of whatever it is, because you are where you are. We so want you to hear us when we say, you have never yet done what we are encouraging you to do. So any results that you've ever lived before don't count. So don't try to find the pieces of what worked and didn't work and try to work them into your system. Instead, just for a little while, get to that very deep level of unconditional emotion. A good way to get there is, why do I want a relationship that looks like that? Because it feels like this. Why do I want a relationship that happens? Because when that happens, it feels like this. Why do I want that? Because it feels like this. Until you have really isolated and practiced the because it feels like, because it feels like, because it feels like. And then as you begin feeling that way without the relationship being there right now, it hasn't turned to the thing that you want, but as you focus upon, well, I liked that because it felt like this, and I liked that because it felt like this, then this becomes the main event, not that, because the fragments of that just keep taking you into more things that are sort of like that. So it's different places, different faces, but same experiences keep happening. The good and the not wanted. In other words, the wanted and the not wanted keep meeting up in different relationships. But through that process, you've sifted the not wanted out and you've put the wanted in, and Source has only kept the wanted parts. And so we promise you that the wanted part of this vibrational relationship is the one you want. But you've got to become resonant with the relationship that you want, and you have to remain resonant with it long enough that you can follow the clues, and then bam, there you are. I've been looking for you for 3 days. Not I've been looking for you all my life. I've been looking for you my whole life because I keep doing the same things over and over again. And I keep destroying the relationship by remembering the last one and the one before that and the one before that. I wrote a book about relationships. They all sucked as I'm on my way to you. It took my entire life to get to you now. How long have you been looking for me? 3 days. It was about 3 days. Only 3 days? Yeah. Well, how many people did you date in the meantime? None? Really? 3 days and I'm the first one? That can't be good.